Hello guys, welcome to the Alrasta channel to discuss and explain the exciting storyline of your favorite series, SwallowedStar episode 228. In the previous episode, we saw the continuation of that fierce battle where Luofeng and the Blood Cloud Palace Master managed to corner a Nyong Master, cutting off his limbs and forcing him to run for his life. After his victory, Luofeng kept going, pushing through the 9th layer using a scaled-down star tower to shield himself from a storm of light blades just to reach the winged treasure. As he got closer, he found a pair of massive, blood-stained white wings with glowing red eyes that gave off an insane amount of mental pressure, constantly telling him to get lost. There, he ran into the wing spirit, who looked like a sneaky, bald old man. This spirit tried to manipulate Luofeng by offering a partnership, but Luofeng shut him down because the conditions were super shady, plus the bloodstain itself was screaming danger. Luofeng then chose to hold out inside the star tower for years to endure the mental pressure until his own Shiwu wings miraculously gave birth to a brand new spirit. After Babata taught her how to communicate, this new spirit revealed that she wanted to devour the energy source of those white wings, which turned out to be the core storage energy of the Shiwu wing's perfect form. So, what happens next? Alright, without further ado, let's dive straight into the story. After Luofeng tested the White Wing Spirit's patience by just waiting around and staying completely still for a really long time, the White Wing Spirit finally cracked and decided to give up. He admitted that he had previously set the bar way too high and made ridiculous demands for Luofeng to become his master. As a sign of surrender, the White Wing Spirit pulled out a glowing, transparent blue orb and floated it over to Luofeng. This orb was actually the core component of the White Wings. The White Wing Spirit explained to Luofeng that all he had to do was accept this core component and fuse it into his body. By doing that, Luofeng's divine power would automatically be engraved onto the White Wings, and the recognition process to make Luofeng the rightful master would happen right away. Luofeng agreed to the offer with one strict condition. The White Wing Spirit had to genuinely and sincerely accept him as master, and in return, Luofeng promised to do everything he could to find a way to fix all the damage and scars on the wings. After all, Luofeng wanted to have the white wings completely and perfectly. But right in the middle of this, the spirit of Luofeng's own Shiwu wings gave him a sharp warning. Her spirit made Luofeng realize that the old man's spirit was trying to play him. This was because Luofeng's current willpower or mental strength hadn't actually met the requirements needed to get the white wings recognition yet. The whole situation was incredibly deadly. In reality, the White Wing Spirit had a hidden agenda to murder Luofeng. Inside that transparent orb floating toward Luofeng, the cunning spirit had hidden blades of light with insane destructive power. Luckily, thanks to Luofeng's sharp instincts, he had suspected something fishy from the very start. Before the transparent orb could even touch him, Luofeng quickly pulled back the star tower protecting him, a move that left the White Wing Spirit totally confused about what kind of strategy the young man was cooking up. Luofeng wasn't about to give the White Wing Spirit any chance to continue his deception, refusing to take even the slightest risk. Since Luofeng knew perfectly well that if this old man's bad intentions were real, it could be fatal, he decided to send his Mosha clone body as a guinea pig to approach the orb. As the clone body controlled by Luofeng started getting close to the White Wing's core, the White Wing Spirit immediately started hurling nasty insults, arrogantly shouting that with Luofeng's low level of strength, he was completely unworthy of being his master. The creature's cruel, true nature was finally fully exposed. Luofeng's suspicions turned out to be 100% right when the Mosha clone touched the transparent orb and was instantly met with thousands of razor-sharp blades of light that shredded the Mosha body to pieces, leaving absolutely nothing behind. To pay back the old man for tricking him, Luofeng immediately ordered his Shiwu Wing Spirit to head out of the star tower and absorb all the light energy from that source without any limits. When the Shiwu wings detached from Luofeng's back and manifested outside the star tower, the White Wing Spirit was absolutely shocked to realize that Luofeng's wings had actually given birth to a new spirit as well. Using her massive energy capacity, Luofeng's Shiwu wings completely stopped the killer blades of light that had been aggressively attacking, and with full power, the wings began sucking up all the energy from those blades. The White Wing Spirit flipped out in total panic, unable to comprehend why the light blades were reversing direction and having their energy completely drained. Trying to stop Luofeng's Shi-Wu wings, the White Wing Spirit warned that the light blade energy belonged to him. Since his warning was completely ignored, the White Wing Spirit could only vent his rage, cursing Luofeng's wings as greedy thieves. Meanwhile, the spirit of Luofeng's Shi-Wu wings shot back with a devastating retort in a cute and innocent voice, stating that they were essentially two parts of the same inseparable entity. So whatever belonged to the White Wings automatically belonged to her too. Throughout this one-sided energy-draining process, the White Wing Spirit had absolutely no way to fight back or escape because his entity was still tightly trapped inside a ceiling constraint formed by ancient bloodstains. On the flip side, the spirit of Luofeng's Shi-Wu wings expressed how amazing it felt as the massive influx of energy slowly began repairing all the severe damage she had suffered in past battles. Even though he kept losing his energy, the White Wing Spirit kept stubbornly throwing out nasty threats, swearing that in the future, he would definitely find a way more powerful master who would completely swallow up Luofeng's newly born Wing Spirit. Ignoring all the empty threats being thrown his way, Luofeng's Shi-Wu wings couldn't care less and greedily kept absorbing the energy. The threats didn't scare Luofeng or Babata at all. On the contrary, the two of them thoroughly enjoyed this moment of sweet revenge, watching the arrogant, sneaky spirit who tried to kill Luofeng finally get put in his place. Thanks to that pure energy boost, Luofeng's Shi-Wu wings, which were previously in terrible shape, managed to fully recover. Now this treasure could unleash 100% of its terrifying potential power. Unfortunately, because Luofeng's willpower still wasn't up to par to force the White Wings to submit and recognize him as master, the energy storage capacity inside his Shi-Wu wings eventually hit its absolute limit. There was no room left inside the body of the Shi-Wu wings to hold the stream of light energy from the White Wings, so the absorption process had to stop. Having harvested enough power, the Shi-Wu wings fused right back onto Luofeng's back. The young man decided not to rush out of the area because he realized that this extreme environment, packed with the raw will of the ancient bloodstain, was the perfect spot for him to train and strengthen his willpower. Because of this, Luofeng decided to settle down right there and train for a long haul of 12,200 years. Once that long training period came to an end, Luofeng asked his Wing Spirit if the progress he made was enough to tame the White Wing Spirit. Even though Luofeng's mental willpower had become way more solid and had even touched the very peak of the Universe Master level, it turned out that this was still just the first step and nowhere near the willpower of a warrior at the true god level. So, the gap in power was still way too wide to get absolute recognition as the master of the White Wing treasure. Recognizing his current limitations, Luofeng reluctantly accepted that he had no choice but to leave the White Wing component right where it was for the time being. He made a plan to explore other regions of the Universe Ocean that were far more dangerous than this place, purely to forge himself into an unrivaled powerhouse. Luofeng was determined that when he returned to this spot in the future, that would be the exact moment he would completely conquer and take control of the White Wings. In the end, Luofeng's departure was accompanied by a sarcastic sneer from the White Wing Spirit, who dismissed Luofeng's resolve as nothing but wishful thinking. Turning his journey around, Luofeng went back to pick up his golden-horned beast body in the guise of the Blood Cloud Palace Master, who was pulling guard duty on the second layer. Around the second layer area, and with the power of his Shi-Wu wings having undergone a massive evolution and dramatic power boost, Luofeng decided to test his limits. He activated his domain technique known as Golden Country. Incredibly, the reach of this technique could now expand to a maximum radius of 80 light years, a massive blanket of power capable of perfectly enveloping and controlling the space dimensions across every single layer of the area. Through the precise radar detection of his Golden Country, Luofeng stumbled upon a new discovery. Aside from detecting the passage formed by the light curtain he had used to get in before, he found another secret passage leading to a territory he hadn't noticed at all. Driven by massive curiosity about where this mysterious passage would take him, Luofeng didn't hesitate to pilot the Star Tower and shoot right into the darkness of that tunnel. Following his usual cautious strategy, Luofeng once again deployed his Mosha clone to move ahead, scouting out the danger levels while acting as a shield against any lethal traps. As soon as he entered the depths of this newly found passage, Luofeng was hit with a tunnel completely engulfed in a sea of flame with ridiculously insane temperatures. When the Mosha clone's body accidentally brushed against the burning rock walls, the flame spread across his entire body with terrifying speed. In a desperate bid to save himself before turning to ash, the Mosha clone quickly chopped off his own burning arm. The fact that even the Mosha clone's body, which had a durability level matching a Universe Venerable warrior, could still be nearly incinerated by this mysterious flame really proved just how dangerous this area was. Despite facing such a massive threat, Luofeng still decided to keep pushing forward through the sea of flame because he wanted to see if there was a narrow path he could squeeze through. Trekking through that fiery tunnel felt incredibly long and exhausting for Luofeng. Even though his travel indicators showed he had already covered a distance of several light years, the end of this terrifying passage was nowhere in sight. Based on astronomical calculations, the space where the white wings were kept was located on the outer edges of the Tilted Peak Realm mountain area. This gave Luofeng a strong hint that the extreme journey he was currently taking inside this burning tunnel was slowly carrying him deep into the core or the belly of that giant mountain range. The hypothesis about how dangerous the core area was proved tragically true when the Mosha clone body on the front lines suddenly exploded and burned into absolute nothingness in the blink of an eye. That deadly incident was absolute proof that the environmental temperature outside had reached a level capable of wiping out a universe master who dared to step out without special armor protection. Luckily for Luofeng, his own journey was still pretty safe because he was sheltered behind the material structure of the Star Tower. Even though the atmosphere outside the tower was a burning hell, the conditions inside the control room stayed cool and stable, a miracle that further cemented the Star Tower's status as one of the ultimate supreme true treasures in the entire universe. After the Star Tower went through a series of pretty violent jolts, Luofeng finally managed to break out of that fiery tunnel. He was immediately greeted by an absolutely jaw-dropping sight, a colossal ancient stone pillar looming massive enough to split dimensions. This giant pillar was surrounded by a sea of sand that kept rolling in bizarre waves, casting faint, blurry illusions that totally messed with your vision. As Luofeng kept driving the Star Tower around the stone pillar area, out of nowhere, the Star Tower got sucked right into one of the sand grains floating in the air. Even though from a distance it looked like just a regular old grain of sand, in reality, that grain hid an incredibly massive space dimension inside, a space whose scale was easily as huge as a secret region. Based on all the info he gathered from checking out the environment, Luofeng came to a mind-blowing realization. Every single grain of sand swirling around that stone pillar hid its own separate dimension. What was even more shocking was that when he examined the wall of the giant stone pillar, Luofeng found massive, deep claw marks left behind. The gashes on the stone pillar's surface clearly showed this wasn't some natural phenomenon, but rather the result of physical attacks launched by some ancient entity with unimaginable power. Just as Luofeng was getting ready to rev up the Star Tower to investigate the place deeper, Babata immediately stepped in and stopped him. In a serious tone, she warned Luofeng that the gravitational pull and energy levels in this area were deadly enough to crush an ordinary universe master. She also emphasized that this place was a forbidden zone that shouldn't be explored with Luofeng's current level of strength. But the warning didn't put a damper on our hero's determination. Luofeng argued that whatever existence could leave claw marks that deep in material as hard as this stone pillar had to be something extraordinary, meaning there was a huge chance of finding secrets or treasures worth the risk. Because of that, he insisted on doing a little more snooping around before finally deciding to back off and leave the dangerous territory if he ran into threats he couldn't handle. Facing Luofeng's stubborn streak and his constant knack for flirting with death, Babata could only give up and let out a long sigh at her master's antics. Luofeng then carefully steered the Star Tower and broke into one of the space sand grains once again. Once inside, he found that the environment's temperature inside the sand grain dimension felt way more normal and stable compared to the extreme heat outside, which felt like the core of a star. Luofeng had a super strong intuition that the sand grain he entered this time had totally different characteristics compared to the other sand dimensions he had visited before. This gut feeling prompted him to fire up his Golden Country technique again, spreading tracking energy waves all over the place to scan for anomalies. His efforts paid off when his energy radar picked up an object radiating a highly unique aura. Without wasting a single second, Luofeng quickly stored the Star Tower into his dimensional storage ring to avoid drawing attention, and then kept moving toward the mysterious energy source using his Mosha clone body. Arriving at the target coordinates, Luofeng found an ancient token of unknown origin, stuck on top of a rock and tightly wrapped in a pitch-black cloth scroll. When the black cloth scroll reacted to his presence and started expanding mystically, Luofeng was shocked to realize that the cloth was actually a legendary cosmic silk map known as the Pulling Traces diagram. The sheer size and level of detail on this map completely blew away the one previously owned by Yuanao Master. As Luofeng tried to step forward to get a closer look at the artifact, the surrounding space suddenly shook violently, giving off an oppressive pressure. Along with that, an authoritative voice from an unknown entity echoed out. The figure introduced himself as Gaponzi, declaring his identity as a lone wolf true god warrior who didn't belong to any faction. Gaponzi also explained that he was a powerful wanderer who had traveled solo for ages, successfully surviving through 3 consecutive reincarnation eras, and had now realized that his remaining lifespan was just about hitting its limit. The visual form and voice of Gaponzi that slowly started manifesting in front of Luofeng weren't his actual physical body, but just an energy projection formed from the remnants of the divine power he purposely left behind. This legacy projection offered some wisdom, stating that the only way for someone to achieve true immortality and become an eternal existence was to break through the final boundary of the universe's reincarnation era cycle. Gaponzi knew damn well that the journey through that cycle was a path filled with absolute uncertainty between life and death. Because of that, he didn't want all his hard work, knowledge, and wealth accumulated over a lifetime to go down the drain and be forgotten by time if he failed and met his end. Ultimately, Gaponzi made a major decision before embarking on his final journey, choosing to leave behind his Universe Boat access token, complete with the navigation guide map to his hidden treasure trove. After Babata used her advanced computer system to scan and analyze the map's data structure, she confirmed to Luofeng with absolute confidence that the pulling traces diagram in front of them was the most complete and flawless version to ever exist. The map also laid out in extreme detail a portion of the navigation paths for a region recognized as one of the 3 most dangerous areas in the entire universe ocean, the Universe Boat. The level of threat and fatal danger lurking in every corner of the Universe Boat was supposedly terrifying enough to bring down even the highest existences, like true god entities. However, behind that looming threat of death, the value of the treasures and artifacts resting inside was believed to be enough to drive every faction and superpower across the universe ocean completely insane, making them willing to slaughter each other just to get their hands on them. As it turned out, Gaponzi had taken an extreme step by hiding his entire personal legacy inside that incredibly dangerous place. The access token currently in Luofeng's hands was a spatial key connected directly to an independent dimensional space hidden deep within the Universe Boat structure. Inside that secret dimension, all the wealth, top-tier treasures, and legacy that Gaponzi had gathered throughout his life's history were stored perfectly safely. Through his final testament, Gaponzi held out high hopes that a future heir with the destiny and capability would come along to find his legacy. More than just physical treasures, he sincerely hoped that all the secret martial arts techniques and ultimate knowledge he had created would be passed down and kept alive by future generations of warriors. Analyzing the situation, Babata brought up a critical point about how ironic the senior's actions were, purposely hiding his map and access token in the Tilted Peak realm while placing his actual treasure in the Universe Boat region, which was incredibly far away and deadly. According to Babata, the strategy Gaponzi used seemed custom-made to give a hard time and torture anyone trying to seek out his legacy. But for Luofeng, just having the chance to inherit such a massive legacy from a legendary senior like Gaponzi was already a blessing that went way beyond the definition of being lucky. While the two of them were still around that giant stone pillar area, Babata started showing signs of anxiety through her emotional sensor system. She shared her analysis with Luofeng, pointing out that even someone of Gaponzi's caliber with mind-boggling power could barely escape the threats when he decided to explore deeper into this stone pillar region. Going by that logic, Babata strongly suggested that Luofeng prioritize figuring out a way to tame the White Wing spirit, rather than forcing himself to push aimlessly into a stone pillar territory that seriously put his life at risk. Weighing her advice, Luofeng pondered for a moment and realized that the white wings he founded seemed to still need a massive amount of top-tier materials to fully recover and fuse with him. Thinking along those lines, a brilliant idea flashed across Luofeng's mind. He planned to use a portion of legendary senior Gaponzi's legacy treasures as a massive potential energy source to feed and restore the white wings. They agreed that this was a super promising plan. Therefore, Luofeng set his next goal. He would launch an expedition to the Universe Boat to claim Gaponzi's inheritance, and once he got enough of an energy supply, he would head back to the Tilted Peak realm to permanently take over and master the White Wings. Before setting off on his long journey toward his new destination, Luofeng, out of pure generosity, decided to share a copy of the Pulling Traces diagram data he just got with the leaders of the human race faction, especially the Huge Axe creator and his master, the Chaos City Lord. This strategic move was made with the big hope that the human race backing him could minimize casualties among their top-tier warriors when they had to launch future expeditions through the dangerous territory of the Universe boat. Babata made a quick, amazed comment about how kind-hearted and caring her master was toward others. Right at the moment when Luofeng was putting together the plan to send the data, his communication system suddenly received a top-priority emergency call from the huge axe creator. The call ordered Luofeng to immediately attend an important meeting that was going down very soon. Luofeng wondered to himself what kind of urgent situation could make the race's top brass suddenly call such an important meeting. Following orders, Luofeng's consciousness entered and shifted into the virtual meeting room network. Upon arriving in the virtual meeting hall, Luofeng saw that the entire lineup of Universe Master Warriors from the human race's top leadership had already gathered. Not long after he joined the room, Luofeng and everyone else there were suddenly startled by the sudden surge of a divine power aura that radiated an intensely powerful, absolute pressure. The center of that terrifying aura burst directly out of an unusual, massive axe that suddenly manifested and floated upright right in front of all the meeting attendees. This heirloom turned out to be a weapon-type treasure at the Supreme True Treasure level, which the huge axe creator had just managed to acquire during his deadly adventure deep within the Tilted Peak Realm territory. This grand, sudden meeting turned out to have a specific purpose: to deliver the most thrilling news in the entire history of the human race's existence. The huge axe creator stood with absolute majesty, gripping the handle of his new axe tightly, giving a super-inspiring speech to everyone. He brought up a sad historical fact, that ever since the legendary figure Ancestor Yuan was sealed away by the original universe, the human race's position had always been on thin ice, forced to constantly deal with non-stop aggression from other powerful races, a situation that had forced them to live in fear and hide out for an incredibly long time. However, the huge axe creator emphasized that with the supreme true treasure now in his grasp, the human race living in the original universe would never again be easily oppressed, underestimated, or trampled on by hostile alien races. The ultimate treasure he found was a divine axe whose power characteristics had a completely flawless match with the huge axe creator's own combat style. With this new blend of absolute power, the huge axe creator would possess an even more mind-blowing and unrivaled destructive capability, ready to lead the human race to a brand new peak of glory. Then what happened next? Alright, thanks for watching until the very end, and don't forget to keep supporting this channel by leaving a comment, dropping a like, and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, bye!
宇宙中果然无愧于决定被小心。
人类，
我知命，你独自一人要
把银翼交给我，我便饶过你。
之力，他懒得浪费时间。
怎么样？
你也就这点神秘气息，来自几十亿公里之外。